It all starts in the capital of Antares. A dragon is roaring, spewing fire, stomping on everything. Destruction everywhere. A guy on a horse asks how the war is going, and the other man replies that they've already lost 200,000 and over 300,000 are injured. Still, all of it would be worth it, since the Demon King is about to die and the world will finally be cleansed. Meanwhile, in the main hall of the castle, the hero Alex von Helene declares that the villain's crimes end today. Standing before the Demon King's throne, they announce that it's time for him to return to the shadows. That damn man, the Emperor of Antares, an old guy known as Cyrus, says that today's destruction has fallen upon his own empire. But Lepenhart asks why they insist on calling his empire, Antares, an evil place. The sun and moon rise there just like anywhere else in the world. Then the hero of fists, known as Tesserin, says that the corrupted creatures the king created would vanish with him today. But the king argues that he never passed any corrupt energy onto those beings. All he did was teach them how to survive and fight, just like humans do. He leans forward and asks if the four kings have fallen. Cyrus replies yes. That filthy orc couldn't stand up to his sword. Lepenhart can't believe he really killed the legendary Tacit. The truth is, orcs might seem like savages, but they were actually innocent, loyal creatures who lived off hunting and gathering. Tesserin then says it's ridiculous they were ever called the Four Warrior Kings anyway, especially since that troll paid the price for his sins. Lepenhart remembers the one called Guru Atika and thinks to himself that even though trolls look menacing, they were just natural beings trying to cleanse their souls. St. Ellen then speaks up, saying that the strange dwarf who worshipped the gods of darkness was also put on the right path. The protagonist puts his hand over his face, thinking that these bastards really believe anyone who doesn't worship their same god must automatically admire the Dark Ones. The mage named Jade chimes in, saying that the Dark Elf has also passed on. Right then, Lepenhart remembers a healthy, fertile blonde girl, and apparently they can kill everyone but not that one, because now he's furious, demanding to know if they really are that eager to die. Tesserin shouts that dark elves were beings consumed by darkness, and they didn't deserve any form of mercy. Lepenhart fires back that she's not a dark elf, she's just a tan elf. Literally, humans destroy the elves' forests, and now they're forced to walk around in the sun, so that's why she got a tan. But clearly the hero completely ignores what he's saying. Alex says that with that sword, the end would come for him. The Demon King's eyes darken. He says there's no point in talking anymore, and the hero replies that if it weren't for the evil powers he possessed, the creatures wouldn't have been corrupted. Lepenhart realizes the conversation is going nowhere. To them, any race that didn't live as their slave was automatically a creature of darkness. The hero charges forward, and Lepenhart says fine. He'll become the Demon King they're so eager for him to be. Half the room erupts in flames. He starts explaining that a long time ago, he was just a simple archmage. Humans had already stopped seeing other races as beings with the same intelligence. Elves were viewed as pretty servants with long lifespans. Dwarves made perfect mining slaves thanks to their dexterity. Orcs were the strong laborers, and trolls were used to harvest healing potions. Every race was treated as if they were property, stripped of dignity. But during one of his expeditions, Lepenhart ended up meeting some of these tribes, and through that, he began to understand how they lived. At the same time, he started learning about the unique magic each race carried, from the elves' elemental control to the witchcraft practiced by trolls. That's how he became the first person in history to reach the 10th circle of magic. His way of thinking began to change. He grew tired of watching other races being enslaved and began rescuing anyone suffering under that system. The issue was that his territory kept expanding, and it became harder to hide from humans. Eventually, he was under attack from armies without even understanding why. The truth was, their technology and strength were far more advanced. So just by defending himself, the village started to grow more and more. And that's how the Empire of Antares was born. He hadn't created it out of hatred for humans, but to serve as a refuge for the other races. Yet now everything was destroyed. Even though the people living there were peaceful, just looking for a safe place to exist, humans still claimed that anyone from that land was a worshipper of the Demon King. Maybe the sight of an army made up of multiple races was intimidating, but that was no excuse to slaughter innocent people. Activating his magic, he says that, as the ruler of this land, it's his duty to protect the Empire. And man, Alex von Helene couldn't even handle the first spell. He went flying and hit the ground hard, totally wiped out. Lepenhart says people call him a hero because he's skilled in both swordplay and magic, but clearly, he hasn't mastered either. In the end, the strongest were always the specialists. And now he was face to face with one, the King of Fists, a man with strength and endurance like no other. The others were easy to handle, but this guy was different. Tesserin immediately lunges at him. Lepenhart dodges, fully aware that this is the one person who spent his entire life training a single technique. Beating someone like that wouldn't be simple. Suddenly, the outer barrier of the castle explodes, crashing down in chunks, and when Lepenhart turns his head, Tesserin is already charging in, ready to slam his elbow through the black shield, shouting that victory would be theirs. Man, the Demon King takes a brutal blow to the head, blood's dripping down, but he says he's fine. He used magic to block the impact. Still, he knows that if this keeps up, there's no way he can win, not while he's still trying to think up a plan. Tezran draws closer, saying he's going to send him to a peaceful place. Leopinhart's still fixing his skull when Tezran adds that he'll be freed from that evil nature inside him. That's when the Demon King realizes Tezran, like the others, truly believed that the only natural way for any other race to exist was as a slave. So he pulls something from his eye and says it's an ancient artifact, known as the Eye of Spacetime. Not even he, the only 10-circle mage, had managed to figure out how to use it. Tezran asks what he's planning, and Leopinhart says that now he's going to rewrite space and time. That artifact tampered with the flow of time itself and gave its wielder the ability to break natural laws. He had no idea how to activate it, but he had nothing left to lose. So he tells Tezran to go ahead and try to stop him, if he thinks he can. Of course, Tezran leaps forward to punch him mid-activation, shouting that he's not going to die like this. A flash of light hits both of their faces, and Leopinhart swears he's not going down like this, no way. But it looks like Tezran's punch lands right on the relic. Smoke bursts out, engulfing the top of the castle. A massive ball of energy starts forming, and Tezran keeps punching right through it. The thing keeps expanding, and from the looks of it, the entire empire was wiped out. The scene shifts. A calm little bird sits quietly on a branch near a cozy cabin in a peaceful, quiet place. The curtains flutter in the breeze as someone inside wonders what that chirping sound is. He feels warm and comfortable. Slowly, his eyes start to open. He wants to know if that relic actually worked. When it came to magic, he knew he was a genius. But he never expected to activate that thing by brute force. He sits up, trying to figure out exactly where he is. He's sure he traveled through time, but this place doesn't look familiar at all. From the look on your face, you're probably already guessing what happened, right? A foot hits the floor, and the guy's rocking a size 59 shoe. He says that even the toughest men would shed a tear after seeing the body this guy's got. But who is this freak in the mirror? His hands are covered in calluses. Scars cover his entire body, and on top of his muscles there are more muscles, and even more muscles stacked on top of those. Man, but none of this makes sense. He's a mage. He specializes in summoning and casting magic circles. What's he supposed to do with a perfectly carved six-pack? And what's with that ugly face? He used to be confident in his looks. The elf girls loved him. He stares at the mirror, wondering what happened to his handsome face and why his muscles keep flexing on their own. He starts questioning whether the relic malfunctioned or if he somehow ended up in someone else's body. There's also the possibility that this isn't the past at all. Maybe he just switched minds with some random guy. Now he's got thick eyebrows, a square jaw, and if he let a beard grow out, he'd look exactly like the King of Fists, Tezran. And right at that moment, someone calls out that name, asking when the lazy bum's finally gonna get out of bed. A massive dude, probably 16 feet tall, storms in. He wants to know what Tezran's still doing inside. The sun's already up. You should have started morning training by now. The old man scratches his beard, saying Tezran's looking at him like he's never seen him before. And Tezran replies that, well, he really doesn't know who the guy is. The man tells him to quit using that old "I lost my memory" excuse. He's already pulled that trick twice, and it's not gonna work again. He grabs the kid's head like it's a tennis ball and drags him off. Now it's all clear. Leopinhart, the 10-circle mage, ended up in the body of the strongest man in the world. And I guess I'm gonna have to start calling him Tezran from now on, otherwise nothing's gonna make sense. I can't be switching names every 2 lines after all. Everyone around him's going to call him Tezran anyway. So that's that. And judging by everything happening around him, this guy must be Tezran's trainer, the one who held the title of King of Fists before him, a man known as Gerard Chrome. The poor guy's already got his leg all tied up and is begging the old man to hear him out for a second. But Gerard just covers his mouth and says that for some reason he's way too talkative today. Man, the guy grabs a piece of bamboo and says the training's about to begin. Next thing you know, whack, straight to the abs, and the poor mage is already crying, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But that's just the beginning. The hits keep coming. The kid starts remembering Cyrus, that fierce little elf girl, and thinks this is the end of the line. Gerard, on the other hand, is wondering why his body feels weaker than usual today. Looks like the kid really did lose his memories somehow. But whatever, that doesn't matter much. After all, the Academy of the Indomitable was famous for its brutal training. It wasn't unheard of for people to lose their memory from taking too many beatings, but sooner or later he'd recover, especially with more beatings. Obviously, the fastest way to fix it was to beat him even harder. As he's smacking the poor guy around, Gerard starts ranting about how humans are weak because they rely on weapons. Only fools would choose armor and a sword over pushing their own body to be unbreakable. Tarzan pipes up asking what's so wrong with using tools, only to get absolutely chewed out by the old man, who says the kind of thinking just proves a person's weakness. A true fighter trains his flaws and overcomes them instead of hiding behind equipment. The human body is like steel. Hit it enough and it'll grow stronger. The poor guy's still tied up, helpless to do anything. And while Gerard keeps pummeling him, he's thinking not everyone gets stronger with training. It's rare to find someone who can go from iron to steel. And that's exactly why he has to make the most of someone like this. He goes right back to thrashing the poor soul, saying that he'll have to discover the vast ocean within himself. But all the poor kid can think about are those warm days in the sun with Cirrus. That was peace. Now the sun's setting, and after an entire day of getting beat to a pulp, Gerard finally says training's over and he can rest for a bit. Shaking all over, the kid thanks him. Back in his cabin, though, he's completely stunned. He's literally soaking in a tub full of potion. And in this world, potions cost 10 silver coins each. To fill a whole bathtub, he can't even begin to imagine how much that cost. He asks Gerard why they're doing this, and the old man explains, metal has to be cooled before it can be hammered again. Lepenhart starts to understand the logic behind the training. They push the muscles to the brink of destruction, nearly to death, then immediately use aura and potions to regenerate. That way, the body recovers before it even feels the full cost of all that damage. It's actually a highly efficient method of building endurance, proving that this approach isn't just senseless brutality. And he knows firsthand how tough Tesseryn's body was in that fight. At least now, he's sure he really is in the past. But then that leaves the question, what happened to Lepenhart in this timeline? Where is his younger body now? And what is it doing? Could two versions of the same soul really exist in a single timeline? To him, there are only two possible answers. First, that the younger version of him is currently alive and well in his original body, while his older mind is stuck in Tesseryn's. Second, that the younger Lepenhart's body is now carrying the soul of the King of Fists. Next scene, Lepenhart brings over a mountain of food, telling him to dig in. He needs to flood his body with nutrients after pushing it that far. And as soon as he finishes eating, they're already climbing a mountain. Gerard says he has to work hard to earn that meal. Up top, he's doing one-finger push-ups while Gerard asks if life's really that easy for him. The poor guy's doing crunches on the edge of a cliff, and then boom, back in bed, totally destroyed. But at this point, there's only one thing on his mind. What's going on with his old body? He has no clue how all this is going to affect the future, and what's going to happen if this body ends up meeting his past self. The existence of a single soul was said to be an unbreakable rule of the universe, so maybe, just maybe, there was a tiny chance both souls could end up being destroyed. He also remembers that young Lepenhart still has 10 years before he even starts working as a warlock. Right now, he's probably buried in books at the Magic Tower. But what if Tesseryn really did take over his body? That bastard would definitely come hunting for him. But thing is, Tesseryn's strength came from his insane physique, and Lepenhart, man, he was a scrawny twig. The training Gerard put him through required help from someone else. There's no way he could handle it on his own. But then again, it's Tesseryn. If anyone could find a way to train solo, it'd be that guy. Either way, there he is, stepping out the door, saying his top priority is escaping this hell. And right then, he stomps off, declaring that he's never coming back to this place again. But of course, the moment he steps outside, his teacher's already standing there asking where his precious student thinks he's going. Our boy is stunned, trying to figure out how the hell this guy's already out here. Was he always just standing around waiting? Scratching his chin, Gerard says it's been about 9 months since his last escape attempt. This one makes 9. The kid tries to explain that he's not Tesseryn. His name is Lepenhart, and he's a mage. Gerard tells him that's a pretty creative story. This time, he really came up with a good one. Last time, it was some tale about being from another world and having met gods and dragons. Before that, he claimed to be the reincarnation of some martial artist from an eastern continent. But this new one about being a wizard named Lepenhart, that one's pretty convincing. He bonks him on the head and says it's time to go back to sleep. And just like that, the poor guy gets yanked back by his hair. Clearly, escaping isn't going to happen. Next scene, he tries to sneak out early in the morning, but gets caught again. Tried escaping underwater, caught again. Dragged straight back to the mountain. The man who, in the future, would earn the title of King of Fists, right now is just desperately trying to run away from training. And Gerard says his training method has been used for over 130 years, and not once has a single student managed to escape. Tesseryn knows even if he did get away, that old man would hunt him down across the world and eventually drag him back. Maybe the smarter option is to just earn permission to leave the mountain. And so 2 years go by. He's being slammed into a wall by a massive weight. Suddenly, the chains snap to the ground. Gerard congratulates him for awakening his aura. Tesseryn knows that even Cyrus, the famed sword hero known for his aura, didn't awaken his until after he turned 20. But Gerard wants to know why this idiot looks so surprised. That was the bare minimum expected from this training. The physical endurance he developed was syncing with his survival instincts. As that connection grew, so did his vitality, and with it, his energy. And from that, aura is born. Now that he's awakened it, it's time to learn some new techniques. Our guy asks what kind of training or ability he'll be learning now. To which Gerard replies, now they're going to start throwing punches at each other. And so the beatings continue. 3 more years pass. The scene shifts to the middle of a waterfall. Tesseryn standing still, focused. He activates the Horn of Calamity, gathering aura into his fist. He's about to throw the Shiryu punch. Arm pulled back and a punch straight into the cliff wall. He says he managed to stack 3 layers. That seems to be his current limit. This was a relatively simple technique that let him compress all the energy in his body into a single blow. The aura was layered in stages, which is why it's called a horn, like a horn's rings and ridges. At its peak, a skill could form 9 layers. Rumor had it that at that level, it could even kill a god. Even Tesseryn from his previous life had only made it to 7. His master once told him that the day he reached 4 stacks, he'd finally be allowed to leave the mountain. But it looks like the old man had gone off to the village, so he'd have to wait for him to come back. Now, if this were the past version of him, he'd already be using this chance to try and escape. But this was actually the perfect moment for him to try something else. The kid starts practicing Leopardhart's old magic. Yeah, the Demon King's power. For some reason, I assumed he was just going to stick with punching, right? But I forgot. He can still use the spells from his past life, as long as he can gather up enough mana. He mumbles something about becoming one with the void, creating a bullet that pierces enemies and fires it straight at a tree. And yeah, it just leaves a burn mark. Compared to the punch that shattered a mountain, it's clearly way weaker. The poor guy scratches his head. For all the knowledge he has, his body just doesn't cooperate. He's starting to wonder if becoming a mage in this state is even possible. His brain barely works well enough to do the calculations. But right then, he senses something nearby. And whatever it is, he knows it's not human. A green paw steps into view and an orc carrying a sword appears. Tezrin locks eyes with him, and the orc just says to pretend he never saw anything. Otherwise, he'll die. Leopardhart figures that, judging by his size, this orc is about 3 or 4 years old. Really young. Looks like he ran away from some battle or something. At least the fact that he's talking and telling Tezrin to stay out of it shows that orcs aren't naturally aggressive. They'd rather avoid conflict. Tezrin asks if the young orc is being hunted. The green kid looks confused and wants to know how Tezrin speaks his language. Tezrin says he's met a few orcs before. The creature lowers his head and says the fates have blessed this encounter. Yes, he's being pursued. Tezrin tells him he can help, but only if the orc is willing to trust him. The orc says anyone who speaks his language so fluently is like a brother. Plus, he can tell Tezrin has a genuine soul. Tezrin can't help but notice. This orc speaks in an oddly refined, almost royal tone. Probably has some noble blood in him. So Tezrin agrees to help. He starts chanting, opens a kind of portal inside the cave, and says that magic will keep him safe. The orc, surprised, asks if he's really a mage. Tezrin says, of course, obviously. But with that jack body of his, the orc replies that there's nothing obvious about it. It makes no sense at all. Still, he's grateful. As soon as the orc enters the portal, Tezrin hears someone approaching. A group of bounty hunters shows up, grumbling about how much effort they're putting in just for a few silver coins. One of them asks Tezrin if he's seen an orc come through. Another guy says he'll give him a gold coin if he tells the truth. His buddy asks if he's actually going to pay up, and the guy laughs, saying, no way, just fooling that musclehead from the mountain. Tezrin simply says he hasn't seen anything, but then one of them spots the tracks. He says it's clearly orc footprints, and that the creature must have gone this way. Tezrin realizes he forgot to cover that part, but calmly tells them that nobody's allowed to enter his home. One of the soldiers glares at him and asks if he's lost his mind, and if he's actually asking to die. Tezrin just stands there, arms crossed, staring them down. The others start whispering that he's looking pretty ripped, they should be careful. Then a purple magic circle forms beneath his feet, and he remembers what his master told him. His fists were the deadliest weapons in the world. And that's exactly why using a weapon was an act of mercy, because wielding one actually made him weaker. So he grabs a big old club and tells the guys not to worry, at least they won't die from getting beaten with this. The hunters panic and all charge at once. Tezrin clenches his jaw, and in the next instant, they're all turned into chibi ragdolls. There's still one soldier trying to keep fighting, but Tezrin, yeah, for him, this is already getting boring. He ends up getting distracted in the middle of his thoughts, and one of the hunters lands a clean hit right to his ribs, only for his sword to go all floppy. Tezrin turns around and slams the guy with a hammer blow, wondering if this body of his even makes sense. There's no way he's human, right? And with that, the poor fools get absolutely flattened. At least Tezrin's calm about it. They're not going to die from this weapon after all. One of the trembling soldiers asks him to identify himself, his voice shaking like a leaf. Tezrin just smacks him across the face and says he's got way too much energy to be wasting on questions. Not long after, the whole group is retreating, apologizing as they leave. Tezrin's standing there holding the weapon, thinking he's getting way too used to this academy life. Right at that moment, the orc appears again, saying he's incredibly grateful, that Tezrin had saved him and he would never forget that until the day he died. Leopardhart tells him a warrior shouldn't bow his head so easily, but the orc replies that Tezrin is now his mentor, and that when the time came, he could count on his sword. Tezrin knows that in orc culture, a mentor is someone they deeply respect, almost like a sacred figure. The orc then asks his name. Strangely, Tezrin starts to say Tezrin, but stops. He says his name is Leopardhart Walled Antares. So I guess I've been calling him Tezrin for no reason, huh? The guy's sticking with Leopardhart after all. And the orc says he'll remember that name. Our boy then asks what options he really has. The humans are taking over the world, so where is he even supposed to go? The orc answers that the continent is vast. There has to be a place where he can live in peace, not as a slave. Leopardhart mentions a land far to the southeast, a place known as the Mountains of Rakid, about a 2-week journey away, in a region called the Land of Challenges. He heard of a tribe of orcs hiding out there, known as the Blue Bear Tribe. Apparently, that was all the orc needed to hear. He thanks him and immediately dashes off. Leopardhart then realizes he forgot to ask his name. The orc stops and says, I am the son of Crota, bearer of the last axe. My name is Tacid. Tacid, the same Tacid who, if you remember, fought beside him and was one of the 4 great knights who died. Which is weird, right? That guy ended up becoming the leader of the Blue Bear tribe. So how did that happen if he met Tesserin in the other life? With a personality like his, that bastard would never have helped an orc. So clearly fate went in some very strange direction. Still, it was a bizarre connection. He thinks back on the Empire, on Tacid, the orcs, the elf girl, and the dwarf as he sits smiling on the throne. He hopes that someday he'll get the chance to meet all of them again. 6 months go by after that strange encounter with Tacid. Gerard prepares for a leap and tells him to brace himself. A burst of energy explodes, and man, you'd think the kid would be braver after all this time, but nope. He's standing there, scared out of his mind. He activates the spiral guard just in time, and Gerard congratulates him, saying he's finally mastered it. Felt like it was just yesterday that he was still calling himself Leppenhart and trying to run away from this place. Our boy replies that was 6 years ago, so why is he bringing it up now? To which Gerard says they've been training together for 10 years, but it's only now that he's finally showing progress. The only question left, why is he still so short? Leppenhart protests, saying he's 1.90 meters. He's not short, but Gerard fires back that every descendant of this academy is at least 2 meters tall. He must be skipping those breathing exercises he was assigned. That reminds Leppenhart that, yeah, the Tesserin from his old life was actually around 2.3 meters tall. So for some reason, he ended up shorter, which clearly is why he doesn't want to use that particular technique. I mean, come on. The guy's already way too big as it is. The scene shifts back to the waterfall. Gerard tells him to go ahead and show the final result. Tesserin focuses his energy, takes a leap into the air, and activates the Horn of Calamity. He slams down the 4-layered impact and the water explodes upward, trembles, and suddenly it's like an entire ocean begins to fracture. Rocks crack and fly in every direction. Gerard smiles, saying that finally, Tesserin wouldn't have to get beat up anymore just to leave this mountain. Tesserin himself is stunned. Gerard tells him that the time had come. It was finally time for him to leave that place and take on the world. He had truly worked hard. And now the boy, Leppenhart, could live however he chose. Whether he wanted to do good or evil didn't matter. What mattered was that he lived on his own terms. That was the reward for all the years of brutal training he endured. Our guy's getting kind of emotional, and then Gerard shares something. 60 years ago, the third king of fists gave him some advice. Actually, 3 pieces of advice. The first, make a lot of money, but never through dishonest means. Leppenhart asks how that even makes sense, being a villain but not stealing. Gerard replies that if you're going to be a villain, at least be a classy one. A person who still holds on to dignity. That just leaves the poor guy even more confused. What's this nonsense about dignified villains? Gerard ignores the reaction and moves on. Second tip, always stand by those who've been wronged. If you're going to live a good life, then live one that earns respect. Leppenhart asks, what if the one who did wrong isn't weaker? And Gerard says, the weaker one isn't always the victim. And besides, you're way too strong. Almost everyone's gonna be weaker than you. So judging by that doesn't make any sense. But the third and most important rule, don't let the legacy of the indomitable die. Someday you're gonna have to find a student and pass it all down. Looking at Gerard from the side, Leppenhart still does seem a bit short. He tells the master they'll remember all of it. Gerard tosses a backpack his way and says that finding someone talented is extremely rare. So don't spend your whole life looking. Just make sure that when you do find someone, you don't let them slip away. The pack has a bit of money and some travel clothes, but our boy looks a little disappointed. He only got 30 silver coins. From what he knows, his master was one of the richest people in the whole kingdom. But Gerard just shrugs and says it's tradition to pay students poorly. When he left, he only got 25. To cheer him up a little, though, he mentions a special gift hidden on a certain mountain. Location marked on the map. He should stop by if he's nearby. Fully dressed, pack on his back, Leppenhart asks himself if he really can just leave like this. He's gotten so used to the mountain life, he's not even sure what living free feels like anymore. But then, from the middle of the mountain, a surge of aura rises, and he hears Gerard's voice. Don't let this farewell weigh down your departure. Honor the legacy of mastering one of the most powerful techniques in the world. And just like that, the poor guy takes off, sprinting down the mountain, ready to face the world. Scene change, a small house in a city. An old man tells his boss that this is way too risky, but the elder says if no one else is going to speak up, he will. A knight asks what the old man wants, and the elder calmly says they need to be paid for the food and for the stay. The knight tosses him a gold coin, saying these damn fools don't know a thing about honor. That should be more than enough. The old man glances at it, and the knight's certain the guy's never even seen one of those before, until the elder replies that it's far from enough. The knight glares at him and asks if he thinks he's stupid, like he doesn't know market prices, and then he punches the old man in the face, saying he's got guts to try and scam a knight like that. But the elder only thinks to himself, these bastards are nothing but common bandits. They've taken the house, the food, and now they want to offer a single coin in return. Suddenly, someone asks old man Edward what's wrong. He turns and says to Stefan, "It's nothing." But the bastard just chimes in, saying this place is full of miserable people. That's why he can't show mercy to commoners. They don't know their place, and they don't know when to stop. Next chapter, we cut to the chill life Lepenhart used to live, all skinny and bony, what really matters is that he had his smiling blonde elf girl by his side, right? She once told him he was graceful, like a finely crafted blade. Now staring into the mirror, he wonders what kind of cursed golem he's turned into. At least he's a lot taller now. That part's great. At this point, Cyrus must be about 70 years old. In human years, that's around 17, but elves live way longer. And this is the city of Krone, in the southern region of Vasily. She's supposed to be sold off next year, and right now, she's probably at the slave house in the region of Chaitin. He starts wondering if the first thing he should do is go over there, destroy the auction, and just snatch her back. But if he does that, he'd be interfering with his own path, messing with the future far too much. It'd be much smarter to just earn the money instead of drawing attention. The problem is, an elven slave costs a fortune, and right now he's got less than 30 silver coins, most of it already spent on lodging. But none of that matters, really. He's got the body, he's mastered the techniques, and he has the memories of the future. On top of that, he knows of a certain ruin located nearby. Cut to Stefan again, asking Todd if he's found the relics yet. Todd tells him to give it a minute. Todd's a mage specialized in exploration and tracking, someone they hired. From the window, Stefan asks if he's sure about the location. Todd says, "Trust me, it's the same place the legendary swordsman Claude von Leota once explored." Back to Lepenhart now. It's been 3 days since he left the city of Krone. This body of his is incredible. He can walk straight for hours without hunger, without cold. His stamina is endless. On top of that, he has a skill from his past life called artificial phantasmagoria. It allows him to remember anything with perfect detail, like it happened just yesterday. And in that past life, he once met a mage named Todd, who mentioned the ruins of House Altine. Using that memory, he and Cyrus went there and found a whole stash of treasure Todd's team had overlooked. Selling everything, they managed to gather over 2,000 gold coins. So yeah, that's the place to go. From atop the mountain, he sees the village of cattle. Looks exactly the same as always. Down in the village, an old man is asking what they should do. The Valley of Death is a place no one should ever go near. Another elder replies that those noble bastards begged them for a guide. If they refused, there'd be consequences. A man on the right says their boss got injured looking for this place. The other guy loses his temper, shouting that nobles are disgusting. In the middle of all that, a man pulls out a bow and says he'll go. He's the best climber in the village. No one else could do it. His wife and daughter burst into tears while he's thinking, "Someone please save me. I really don't want to do this." The other men, though, are patting him on the back, saying he's got the heart of a winner. Of course he's going to make it. And then, boom, Lepenhart's face appears at the window, and he says he'll go. The guy yells, thanking him, but then spins around with the bow drawn, asking who he is. Our boy answers calmly, "I'm just a traveler. Happened to overhear your conversation by accident." He steps into the room and they ask if he's familiar with the area. He nods, very well. The guys say it's impossible. If he really knew the place, there's no way he'd agree to go to the Valley of Death. But our boy just tells them he's already been there before, so he's not worried. Meanwhile, he's thinking to himself that these bastards are lucky. He just saved one of their lives. The Valley of Death, that's what people around here call it. But the truth is, it's a dungeon, a remnant from the Silver Era long since forgotten. 50 years ago, a knight awakened his aura at the age of 45, which was considered young back then. The problem? With all the fame he gained, he forgot his limits. He entered the Valley of Death, alone, and died. And with him, the legendary blade known as the demonic sword of Altian was lost deep within those ruins. Since then, the tale has been passed down like a myth. And now, out of nowhere, our guy is walking with that group, Stefan's crew. The elf girl's all fired up, saying he looks so elegant when riding a horse. He replies that Welsh's words bring him real joy. Lepenhart's just watching from the side, realizing these bastards are having the time of their lives. Also in the group is a redhead named Silent. He notices she's beautiful and young, but he starts wondering if she can really cast high-level healing spells. Actually, forget all that. Our boy admits he can't believe he's even still a man. It's weird. He's just looking for a chance to talk to Todd, who in his past life was obviously a big fan, back when Lepenhart was a prodigy mage. But now he's picking up on some weird tension between Silent and Todd. He wonders, is Todd into the cute one? Then shakes his head. No way. Todd was never that kind of guy. Suddenly, Todd comes up to him and says he made a great decision agreeing to be their guide. Everyone else in the village was too afraid to volunteer. Lepenhart replies that it's only natural they'd be scared. But then Edward jumps in saying fear doesn't make sense. Not when they're traveling with the bravest knights in the entire kingdom. Our boy is already fighting the urge to crush this arrogant idiot's skull. Clearly, the guy thinks he's way stronger than he actually is. Then suddenly, a strange noise echoes through the woods. The trees begin to tremble. Something rises. And then harpies hiding above swoop down from the skies. The creatures immediately dive toward the group, who start shouting for everyone to get into position. It's an ambush. One of them claws downward, while Relcha says these beasts have the nerve to attack a blessed man like Stefan. At the same time, Todd summons a blazing fire chain, lighting up the air, and the monsters go up in flames mid-flight. Meanwhile, sweet Scylla, the femboy of the hour, is tossing out heals and buffs for the whole team. And Lepenhardt, he's just standing off to the side, watching. He admits they're actually not that bad. Their sword play is better than he expected. Of course, that's from a mage's perspective. As fighters, they're still pretty lousy. No wonder Gerard was always so proud of the techniques he taught. But, as always, there's a catch. One of the harpies breaks formation and charges toward the orcs who are hauling the supplies, only to catch a fist to the face so strong it vaporizes her in the air. Just like he expected, nobody's worried about defending those guys. According to Todd's account, this is where the last guy died. But this group's leader is Stefan, a member of the Altin family. Some of the soldiers, though, man, they're not doing so well. They're getting torn apart by the harpies. Lepenhardt notices that Stefan isn't actually a bad person, but he clearly doesn't fight while protecting those beside him. And maybe that's what truly makes someone a bad person. Just then, Scylla, the lovable femboy of the party, tells everyone to take cover in the trees. It's too dangerous out here. Our boy thinks at least someone in this group is decent. The harpies unleash another wave of attacks. Lepenhardt doesn't even bother dodging. He just stands there, lets them hit, until one strike lands right in his eye. The poor guy wonders if he's even got any tears left after all that training. Not long after, Stefan calls out, asking for a damage report if the mages and priests are all safe. One of the soldiers answers yes, and that's when our boy realizes they don't give a damn about him or the rest of the group. Right then, Stefan raises his arm and proudly declares that they've proven their strength and can now rest after such a glorious victory. Lepenhardt takes the chance to walk over and talk to Todd, thanking him for the fire magic. It really saved everyone. He says he'd heard Todd was a mage from the Delphia Magic Tower, and he actually has a friend who studies there too. Todd asks who his friend is. Our boy replies his name is Lepenhardt. Do you know him? Todd says, yeah, I know Lepenhardt. I just didn't expect someone like you to be his friend. Such a big, tough guy. That kid was sweet, kind-hearted. And just like that, Lepenhardt immediately clocks that this guy is seriously weird. Todd asks why he's bringing all this up, and our boy asks if he knows whether the kid started training. How's his body doing? Todd responds, oh, he's just like always. Sharp little nose, gemstone eyes, and skin soft as silk. And in that exact moment, Lepenhardt knows. This creeping thinking anything wholesome. He's even drooling for crying out loud. Thankfully, Scylla walks up and asks if he's hurt. He says he's fine and tells her to check on the orcs instead. She goes to heal them, but the orcs say she doesn't need to worry. They're fine. She shouldn't waste her mana on people like them. One of the soldiers scoffs and asks why she's wasting magic on monsters. They'd recover on their own eventually. Lepenhardt notes how the orcs are being treated like dogs, or honestly, worse than dogs. He knows plenty of dogs that are treated with more kindness. Just then, Stefan calls him, hey guide, let's move. Our boy's fuming inside, but forces a dumb smile and leads the way. A few hours pass. The soldiers from the army are looking wrecked. Apparently, they ran into a pack of wolves, over 20 ogres, and a whole horde of monsters. They're wondering why this mountain is so full of threats. But of course, it's because Lepenhardt is leading them in a straight line, cutting directly through danger instead of avoiding it. He may look like a soldier, but he's a mage, and a mage is all about efficiency. There's no way he's going to put himself in more danger just to make things faster for this bunch. Stefan's completely wiped out and mutters that now he understands why Sir Claude died here. But just then, his expression changes. They finally found a dungeon. He asks if this is the place. Todd nods. Absolutely. The ancient ruins of Fulton. The group pushes forward and stops in front of a massive door. Todd opens it, checks the entrance, and says it looks safe. They can move forward. Stefan rallies the group, telling everyone to get ready. The time has come. They're going in. Lepenhardt says he'll wait outside, but Stefan waves him off, saying his job's done. He can leave. Our boy protests. Come on. This forest is crawling with monsters. I'll die out here. Stefan shrugs. Well, you found the place. We'll send someone to help you back later. Which only pisses Lepenhardt off even more. So what? If they hadn't found the place, they'd have just abandoned him. Then Stefan turns to his team and gives a motivational speech saying a great knight rests behind those doors, and today they would honor his legacy. Everyone charges ahead, smiling like heroes, while Lepenhardt just tells them good luck. The door shuts behind them, and that's when his plan begins. This ruin is full of monsters and wandering spirits, but in the past it used to be a military base. It might have looked ordinary, but the Silver Era's technology was incredibly advanced. That's exactly why this place is so valuable. Walking through the halls, Lepenhardt murmurs that it's been a long time since he last came here. In his previous life, he and Ceres had walked these same paths. The girl, looking all stunning, says she hears a fairy through the walls. If there's a voice calling out from beyond, it means there's a hidden gate, and yep, she's the one who found the treasure room. Suddenly, a mosaic lights up on screen. What the hell did they get up to inside that dungeon's treasure vault? Man, Lepenhardt's old life really was better. He's looking at the carvings on the wall. saying it's a code written in Libra script with reverse sequences of water and earth symbols. He's trying hard to decode it, but man, this brain of his now is definitely not what it used to be. Still, after a while, the mechanism clicks open. He tosses his code on the floor, saying he's not about to ruin something that cost 10 silver coins, no way. Now shirtless, ripped out of his mind, he announces it's time to test what this body is really capable of. But just then, he hears screaming. He knows the shouts are coming from the other side, but come on, the treasure is right there. Why go back? Then he remembers, when he came here with Cirrus, she used her magic to locate the items and they got out safely. But this group he brought, they're heading through another area and probably triggered some trap or something. It's gotta be chaos. One soldier's already down, stabbed right through the neck. Sir Thomas, Stefan screams, but the man's already gone. Then in the back of the cavern.
And that's where we leave off. Plot twists dropped, power levels shattered, and the stakes higher than ever. If your heart's racing and you're hungry for more, don't just sit there. Like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next mind-blowing recap. This is Granular Manhwa Recap, where every panel hits harder, and every episode keeps you on the edge. Stay sharp, stay hyped, and I'll see you in the next one.